Today we're going to continue to look at rates and how we can find the rate of something, not by giving just a number or a graph, but today we're going to start looking at tables, how we can gather the same information just in a different way again. So we'll start with the old stuff, the stuff we did yesterday, just for some reminders. Okay, so an example here. The cost for a plumber is shown in the graph below. What is his hourly rate? So this is a series of dots, and it would be nice if we could just take a dot and divide it like we did day one with the jam. But because it's more than one dot, I got to figure out what the pattern is. So from yesterday, how do we do rates? Rate equals. Okay, my rise and my run. So where the triangle thing comes in handy. To find two nice dots, here's my first one at 50 and 0, or 0 and 50. I'm going to pick any of the other dots and go way over here to the end. This makes it easier to draw my triangle. Okay, how do I get from 50 to the other dot? I have to go up. How much did I go up? I went up 100. So up 100. And then I went over from 0 all the way to 4. Step 1. Step 2, we put our units in here. 100 what? These were $100. This was 4 hours. And then divide. And what do I notice? This plumber is charging $25 per hour. In part B, write the equation. Every equation looks the same. X equals and Y equals. X is from the bottom. That's my time, or my number of hours. It's like the number of things. And Y would be my cost. My equation is Y equals whatever I started at. My initial value, the spot where I'm at 0. If you look at our graph, that would be my very first dot, right? The nice dot we started with, 50. And how did it change? It was going up 25 every hour. There's our equation. So the exact same stuff we did yesterday. Okay, how am I going to change this? Well, my whole idea is that these relationships can be found from a table, a graph, an equation, or words. They're all interchangeable and they should show the same information just in different ways. So what information am I going to have to get from my table? I'm going to have to find the initial value. That's my first thing to find. Okay, it's also called your flat fee or your starting point. And you've got to find it by looking for where the number of is 0. For instance, the number of hours. Where was it 0? When it was 0, we start at 50 bucks. Okay, so I'm going to have to look for the number of being 0. To find the rate, I'm going to use my idea of the triangle, except for I won't have a triangle anymore. So I'm going to use the difference between any 2 points in the table. We'll do some examples of that in a second. Okay. When you do this, make sure your run is always the first column, and your rise is always the second column. So this is your up. That's in the second column, the Y values. And this is your over. That's in my first column. Okay, so we're going to try and take a graph and turn it into a table and show you how it works. So let's take a look at this example here. A rain barrel full of water is drained at a constant rate. Data for the first few minutes of draining is shown in the grid below. Write down a table of values for this relationship. Okay, number of. What do we got here? Number of minutes in column 1. And over time, what's going to happen? My volume, and the liters remaining, is going to change. So at time 0, how much water do I have? My very first dot is at 100. Okay. After 1 minute, I'm down to, looks like 85. After 2 minutes, I'm down to 70. There's a pattern here. Remember, we said tables are all about patterns. What's the pattern? Well, if I keep going, 3 minutes, how much did I go down over here? It looks like 15, so it should be 55. Let's go back and check. 3 and 55. So here's 3, and this number is at 55. Perfect. There's my pattern. Okay, so I've taken information from a graph, put it into a table. What is the initial amount of water in the barrel? My initial amount always happens when the number of is 0. So here's my initial 0. What value do I actually want? This number. This is my initial amount. This is when my initial happens. Okay, so for part B, how much water is in the barrel? 100 liters. Okay, part C. Determine the rate at which the water drains. So rate equals. Okay, we're going to do the same things we did before, but here's how we're going to do it from a table. The difference between any 2 points, I can pick any two I want. It doesn't matter which ones you pick. I went from 85 to 70. I went down 15. Okay, I do the second column first. And then how much did I go over? I went over 1. Right? Notice I picked points that are together. Right? I got to use the same x's and y's. Okay, or units. This was down. Oh, down is negative. 15 what? These were liters. This was 1 minute, or in other words, it's just down 15 liters per minute. Okay. If I go back to the graph for just a second, just to show you how this worked. If I did my triangle, I went down from 100 to 85. I went over 1. It's the exact same information, but it's getting from the table. Just be careful that the triangle, the second column goes first. That's the top part of your triangle. Okay, equation. Same old now. Okay, x equals y equals number of. This was number of minutes. This was liters. And y equals, what did we say we started at? Back here was 100 liters. How did it change? It was going down 15 liters every minute. And to finish it off, how much water is left in the barrel after 7 minutes? The reason we make equations is we can use them. Okay, I have 7 minutes. Well, minutes is my x's, so I can figure what happens when x is 7 by replacing the x with a 7. I'll follow BEDMAS rules, and we'll get 15 liters. And you could do the equation, or if you really want to, you can go up to your graph here and keep following your pattern. Make more dots. 1, 2, 3 over. 1, 2, 3 over. 1, 2, 3 over. Oops, I made a little math mistake down here. No, that's not 85. It's 105. How did I know? Well, look at my graph. My graph went below. Right? My last time is right here, which matches the information I have here. -5. Wait a second. How do I get -5? It says how much water is remaining. Can you get negative liters? I don't think so. What happened? Somewhere before 7 minutes. Looking at a graph, thinking about a number, I think we ran out of water. So how much water remains? There is no water remaining after 7 minutes. Okay, now our big idea right here, table. We're going to replace the graph with a table. Exact same information, just done in a slightly different way. Okay, so let's try an example. Exact same kind of stuff, just without the graph anymore. So we got Raj. He has a card that he uses to buy lunch at school. Every day he spends the same amount. Information with the relationship between how much money he has on his card and the number of days is given. Here's my table of information. How much money was on the card originally? Well, what am I asking for there? I'm asking for the initial value. Right? When I say the word originally, it means at the beginning, at the start. Okay? Fancy word for initial. I can find the initial if I can find the 0 in my number column. There's my 0, which tells me the initial value was $40. Remember, this is where to find it, but this is what it is. That's what we want. Okay, part B. Determine the rate of change for this relationship. Rate. Okay. So I'm going to take my table. I'm going to pick any 2 points I want. Let's pick the first 2. What happened here? Went from 40 to 31. Well, it's definitely going down. It's going down 9. And that happened over the course of 2 days. Over 2. It took 2 days to do this. So I'm down 9 over 2. 9 what? Make sure it's a negative sign, right? Because it's down. $9. This was 2 days. So every day it's going down $4.50. You just divide it by 2. Okay, write an equation. Yeah, that's our big finish here. Oops, not E, C. X equals number of days. Y equals amount. Amount remaining, or amount on the card, or however you want to call that. Okay, what did we start at? We said we started at 40. That was our initial value. It was going down $4.50 every day. I don't know how many days it is, so I put my X in there. And there's our question. It's all done. Try one more. The cost to go to fitness classes at a local gym is a linear relation. It means there's a pattern here, right? That's all that's telling me. Made up of a sign-up fee and a cost per class. Some information is given in the table below. Okay, now they're giving us some clues in this question. They told us this is made up of a sign-up fee, in other words, an initial amount, and a cost per class. Well, that means that there's a rate involved here. So it's just telling me that I have an equation that's going to look like normal. I've got to figure out those things. Okay, part A asks for the rate per class. So let's pick 2 numbers. Oh, 75 to 125 went up this time. Looks like it's going up 50. Goes up 50 for every over 5 classes. Okay, 50 what? Those are $50. So it's 5 classes, which means I've got $10 per class. Okay, what does it cost to sign up at the gym? Oh, what's it asking for here? It's asking for the initial. So I've got to find, when I take no classes, how much does it cost? Well, if you notice, I didn't give you 0 this time. Well, we can figure it out, can't we? Isn't there a pattern to this table? I go up, the table goes up 5, up 5, up 5. That would be 0 classes. What's happening on this side? It's going up 50, 50, 50. Doesn't that one make this 25? So if I'm not given the 0, I have to go back and think about the pattern that would create it. There's my pattern. 0 classes cost 25 if I go back in the table. We can write that down. Okay, our sign-up fee would be $25. Okay, part C, write an equation. X equals number of classes. Y equals cost. Y equals how much? Well, it started at 25, and it went up 10 for every class. That was our rate. Okay, and the last part, D here. How many classes could you afford if you had $400 to spend on this? Well, 400 would be my cost, right? So if I use my equation, I'm going to replace the y with 400 and solve for x. Well, how do we solve things? Numbers on one side and letters on the other. Cross equals when I do the opposite. Right, collect your like terms. That gives me 10 x's, but we don't want 10 x's. We want just x. So I get 37.5. Now, I don't think you can take 37.5 classes. Doesn't really make sense. So I have to interpret this. You could take, how do I round this number off? Do I go up to 38 or down to 37? And I would say down to 37 because you can't afford the 38th class. Okay, that's tables and rates and how we can put them together. Okay, try the sheet. If you're stuck, come see me. And we're going to just keep practicing these ideas for the next couple of days.